We basically went to a pitch without a pitch.
Go on, there's a guy that needs heart surgery down there.
Hung up the phone and just sat on the floor and cried for ages.
Sorry, nearly gave away my friend's parents' house phone number then.
We're just a couple of business anchors. Welcome to the Business Anchors podcast. This jingle is slightly too long. This jingle is slightly too long.
Welcome to the Business Anchors podcast. We're your hosts, radio DJ voice extraordinaire Lloyd Knowlton, and the other one,
Dan Knowlton.
Oh, he doesn't sound happy because it's the third time we've started this recording. In this episode, we're going to be talking about failure. We're going to be talking about a huge opportunity we had for our business and how we met with the board of directors and completely failed in front of them. We're going to reveal why Dan failed in such a big way that he ended up in tears on his kitchen floor, and we might even talk about the small number of failures that I've been responsible for.
There's not many, is there, Lloyd?
No, that's probably going to make up a couple of minutes of the podcast, I would assume. Because I'm pretty much perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking, Dan, why don't we start by making the audience feel really comfortable? I mean, international keynote speaker Dan Knowlton, if you could tell us about a failure that you've had in your life, you know, that will just all make us feel much better, don't you think?
It's going to be for a while. I've got to try and think of...
No, it'll be... Surely it's really easy to think...
There is one failure. You kind of mentioned it in the intro, actually, the crying on the kitchen floor.
I was hoping you might talk about that.
Yeah. Oh man, that was an embarrassing one. So just a quick story. So I don't know if I've mentioned before, but I used to work for a company called Enterprise Rent a Car, which you know, Lloyd, and they basically rent cars. And
do they? Do they? Oh, right. Okay.
I worked my way up to assistant manager, and I enjoyed it for a bit, and then eventually I just realised I hate managing people, which is why you do all of the managing people here now. So I really enjoyed the job for ages, but then I wasn't liking it. And I had a golden ticket sort of job opportunity to work for this really great company in London. And I had a phone interview booked. And bearing in mind at the Enterprise, I was working crazy hours. And I had
you were working really
I
crazy.
was just
and
so
you were commuting
stressed.
for like...
Eventually I was commuting from Thanet 2 hours each way, starting work at like 7, getting home at like 9, 10, and it was horrendous. Anyway, so I had this phone interview and I thought, this is like my opportunity to get out. But I had no time to prepare anything because it was at like 9:30 at night.
Too busy renting cars,
Yeah. So eventually I get home absolutely exhausted. I done no prep. The guy calls. And I think I was just not in a good way. And the first question he asked me, and bearing in mind how much pressure I went to get out of this job, the first question he asked me was something around, tell us what industries do you see sort of expanding in the future? Like, so just a standard sort of just basically so I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah. And
my mind went completely blank. And I just randomly said something about dating, which sounded really weird. And then I basically just imploded. And I just hung up the phone because I didn't know what I was doing and just sat on the floor and cried for ages. And then rang my dad and said, I hate my life.
Oh. Quite an abrupt, sad ending to that story.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, because I actually don't think, for the listeners, if you haven't worked out, we're brothers. So I don't think I heard about this for quite a long time, though.
I don't think I told you.
And it was quite a long... Yeah, I suppose it's not...
Did mum and dad not tell you?
Guess what I did? I've been crying on the floor. It's been great. I'm a failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But remember, Lloyd, it's not how many times you get knocked down. It's how many times you get back. I want to get some cringy motivational quotes now.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cringy. You're right. We'll try and get a few more in. Yeah.
Yeah, so...
That sounds bad.
Oh, yeah, but you know when I was in such a bad place with work that I just imploded and I didn't...
Yeah. I do think well, when you're in
horrible.
like a stressful situation at work or you're doing really long hours, you're working really hard, your brain is just like frazzled.
Well, just
thinking about anything else, let alone trying to communicate in a really positive way in an interview.
Bear in mind, I had a manager, Ian. Hi, Ian, if you're listening, was lovely. But he went away and I had to manage the whole branch of 250 cars, 9 staff. And I'd only just had the job for like a week and I was rubbish at it. And it was all the logistics of...
Ian from Enterprise Rent a Car ruined this opportunity for you.
Ian. I love you, Ian. He's a lovely manager.
Sounds horrible.
I actually remember quitting and I felt so horrible. I brought my notice in to say, Ian, I'm really sorry because I've already got on with them. I'm quitting. And as I went to hand in my letter of resignation, he went, I'm quitting too.
Oh,
and then we went
nice.
like, high five, like, woo, let's leave. Anyway.
Yeah, so nice. I just felt it would be good to hear about your failure.
Yeah. Although there's so many more.
I know, Dan. There's so many times that you've failed. We're going to have to really get through them. So we need to get through a story at the start. So what have you learned from this? What have you learned from this? Did you learn anything from that? Because surely that was just a horrible situation.
I think, no, because I learnt a lot within the job role because it was so high pressure. I learnt about sales, customer service, all that stuff. So I learnt a lot. But I guess I learned to try and focus on doing something that I actually enjoy by the end, because I was just doing something I absolutely hated and just thought that was the only thing I could do, which was stupid.
I had a similar thing where I had the job where I was managing a school for foreign students, basically. And I used to wake up at about 6 a.m, work crazily, not even have time to eat food or drink. That's a strange way to say that. But and then I'd go to bed at about 1 a.m, and I'd do it all over again. And I did that.
I remember you were so stressed that I remember that period. I literally hardly saw you, but the only times I saw you, just were really drunk.
There's a lot of escapism going on there, I think. Yeah. Literally,
nice to see you.
I could use these 4 hours to sleep, or I could just completely escape the world for a bit.
But do you know what, though?
When you're working that hard, it's hard to focus on anything positive.
You do learn so much, though, from... I know it's the whole, cringy thing of you do actually learn. But you do learn from those high-pressured, horrible situations.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking a lot about kind of learning from failure in the rest of the podcast. But first, I've got some good news, Dan.
Go on.
So we've got something to celebrate. We have entered the Australian podcast charts this week.
Have we? Hey.
So in celebration, I think you guys know every week we introduce a drink for the podcast. It's my turn to choose.
Quirky. So, what number were we in the Australian podcast charts? Oh, you're joking. It's literally like 9 a.m.
We got to number 11 in the marketing podcast chart. So, good day. How you going? There's a Foster's Den.
Oh, Lloyd, this is really bad. We've got a whole day of work to do.
Well, Dan, don't give it away. People could be listening to this podcast, at the weekend, and we're just having a beer with them. Good day. How you going?
Cheers.
Oh, do you know what? You know when tastes and smells remind you of something?
Yeah, what does that remind you of?
The taste of opening that can at maybe it's 10 a.m. when we record this. It reminds me of being on a stag do, because it's the only situation where I've turned up early in the morning, getting on a minibus or something to go somewhere, and you get it shoved in front of you.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Or at an airport when you get a flight.
Yes, yeah. It's suddenly acceptable, isn't it? Because time zones and stuff, you just think, it's like evening somewhere, so it's fine. So thanks, Australian listeners. Thank you very much. Anthony Murphy from Attention Media.
Oh, yes.
He's been posting about us, so thank you. Shout out to Anthony Murphy.
Maybe he's just been playing it on repeat.
Yeah, hopefully. If you could do that, Anthony, just tell everyone in Australia, because you probably know everyone in Australia.
Yeah.
Don't you? Yeah,
Time to listen.
Yeah, just like in England, everyone knows the Queen.
Yeah,
it's that kind of thing, isn't it? So just thanks, Anthony, and everyone else.
How many? What chart did we? Where were we?
We're number 11 in the marketing podcast charts.
Clearly, no other Australian marketing podcast.
No, I don't think marketing podcasts are very popular in Australia. But so while we're on that, guys, we say this every week. Haven't offered you much value so far, but we would love you to review and rate us on Apple Podcasts. We'd love you to listen on Spotify and subscribe, and we'd love you to tell your friends, family, and colleagues how they can enjoy this podcast.
How can they enjoy it, Lloyd?
Listen and then enjoy it. Yeah. Good.
Yeah,
clear
please
call
do
to
that
action there.
stuff, guys, because it makes us feel good. Makes us feel like we're more successful than we are.
Yeah, and that's we constantly need our ego boosted.
Yeah.
I mean, last episode we were just ecstatic. We got to number 34 in Denmark randomly, and Australia was a lovely surprise.
Yeah,
midweek
taking over the world,
week.
aren't we, Lloyd?
Yeah, one country at a time.
With those 3 downloads in Australia.
Yeah, no, there was 9. So, so let's talk about the main thing we're talking about is our biggest failures. We're going to be talking about some of our really big kind of business failures. And we've been going 5 years now, so there's quite a few we can look back on.
Yeah,
I think there's no way.
Some really embarrassing ones when you look back and think, why on earth did we do that? But then I suppose you need to do those weird things to learn, don't you?
And also, we all everyone fails every day. In a you make mistakes and you do things you think, oh, that didn't work, but You don't let it
But there is this whole culture around not talking about your failures and stuff because it makes you look shit, and then you don't. Especially if you run a business, you don't want people to think you look rubbish.
And the whole social media kind of thing, like we've spoken about before in the podcast. No one just goes,
"Hey, I hate life.
Oh, I just spilt coffee on my carpet. great day." They just You
want to appear to, like we mentioned, we talked about success last time. You want to appear successful, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, Dan, I fancy another sip of my. Good day. How you going? Oh, that's quite strange to.
Yeah, this is weird, Lloyd. I don't know what. Yeah, you've done. Do you know what you've done? You've done that thing because we're going to America tomorrow. You do that thing where there's something exciting happening, and you just don't focus on anything the whole week because you're like a little child at Christmas, and you can't. So you've decided to get beers at 9 a.m. to record a podcast.
That is 100% what I've done.
I know you so well.
Yep.
You get so excited you can't focus on
I
anything.
already want to finish work now, and it's in the morning the day before. But I do that thing as well where I get overexcited and my energy's really high. I've got loads of energy.
Yeah.
But it lasts like 3 hours, and then I just have a slump, and I'm like,
crash.
Oh, I need to have a nap. But no, I'll try not to do that today.
Please
Dan.
don't. Failures.
So we've already spoken about failure and how you can learn from it and stuff. But I think it's quite hard because when you do fail, even if people are saying to you, well, what can you learn from this? This is going to be a positive thing. It never...
feels rubbish.
Yeah. When does it get to... So you fail.
Yeah.
So say you're trying to win a client or something. They get back to you and go, no, thanks. That wasn't good at all. That wasn't what we were looking for. You don't immediately go...
No.
Oh, well, I'm sure I'll learn from this. Brilliant.
It's not
when
like
do you get to that point?
It's not like Gary V when he says, "I love to fail. Fail's amazing. Oh my god!" And like paints this picture of you got to fail. Like, no, failing's rubbish. It makes you. I hate failure. I hate failing because
your life day to day must be frustrating then.
Shut up.
But there's a few stories that came to mind. We've obviously both been trying to think of failures and in the business and what we could talk about.
Yeah.
And one thing really came to my mind that I don't think we've ever spoken about publicly before.
You literally mentioned it the other day, and I thought we haven't. That probably happened 4 years ago, and we haven't spoken about it since, have we?
Yeah.
It's probably that bad.
So just to set it up, guys, like Dan said, it's probably 3 or 4 years ago, so much earlier stage of the business, where we were just kind of getting to grips with things. But we had this opportunity to go for this work that would have been
massive,
a game changer for the business, basically. You know, the kind of deal that everyone has in their business. There's a value for all of us where you think, oh, wow, if we could get that, you know, for the next 6 months, for the next year or whatever, that would really change the business.
Yeah.
So obviously really excited about this. So we'd had phone calls with them and that kind of thing. We get in the car, we drove a couple of hours.
It was just past Brighton, so
a couple of hours to get there. Think, oh, what a great opportunity! We're going to meet these people.
We were so excited.
Talk about what we can do for them. It's going to be great. And we, like I said, drove 2 hours. Both of us. So took our time out of the business, not doing any paid work, not doing any of the other stuff because we're both committed to this. And at this time, it was just me and Dan working for the business, so we're really into this. And we got there. Did all the someone let us through to this room.
Went into the boardroom,
big screen and stuff, and then I remember sat down, and the lady, one of the board members, sort of said, "So where do you want to plug into, or where do you want to present?" And we sort of said, "What? Where do you want to plug in for the presentation and the pitch?" And we said, "Oh no, we haven't got any." And I sort of got my iPad. We're in a crap case that I've had, like a first generation iPad, and I was like, "Oh, well, we can show you some stuff on here, some examples of what we're talking about, but we don't need to plug in anywhere." And at the time, we didn't really kind of get it.
We basically went to a pitch without a pitch.
Yeah. We didn't. It took a while for it to sink in, but they looked a bit confused, and we were like, "What? We don't need to plug in anything anywhere. What do you mean plug in?"
But we kind of naively thought we were going all the way there to chat.
Yeah, to chat. Oh, we can tell them about our ideas and stuff. And now, as the business has progressed,
like knowing how agencies work, you go into a brand like we do now, and you pitch creative ideas based on an objective they've
You've got a lovely presentation that you're going to deliver to them. You're going to have a chat informally in between, but it's going to look great. You put loads of effort in. So obviously that's what they're expecting, and probably what 3 or 4 other businesses businesses had done for them about half an hour before we got
We
there.
turned up for a chat.
And that was, I just remember that feeling. Well, actually, I realised it was a failure much before Dan, because I'm a bit more.
You're much more
I can
self-aware.
read people a bit better. So I walked out and I was like, oh man, they were expecting us to pitch them with a really great presentation.
And I went, what?
And Dan was going, what? What, you don't think they liked it? I was like, no. They were expecting a proper pitch, and we just went in and had a coffee. Like, yeah, we can do good stuff for you if you want. And then it started sinking for Dan on the drive home. And it's like, oh, I didn't get that at all. And he's like, oh yeah, they were saying about plugging stuff in and things. Yeah, and they were they set the room up for a presentation.
Do you know what though? It's how like think of all the work we put into that. We didn't put much work, but in terms of the time out of the business and how excited we got, and we literally thought we had that in the bag. The dramatic thing of how rubbish we felt afterwards makes you always remember to not do anything like that again. And then from then on, we've like probably overly prepared for everything because that made us feel so rubbish.
Yeah, every meeting you've got with potential clients or anything, and also you make sure you're ultra clear, but on both sides.
Yeah, managing expectations.
What is this for? So sometimes people do genuinely want to meet you at first for a chat, and it's kind of like, am I going to get on with these people to work with?
Yeah.
Can they prove to me in a half an hour conversation they kind of know what they're talking about?
Yeah.
And then the next thing would be a pitch.
Yeah.
But like you said, now we completely make sure we know. So that failure, we 100%.
Well, that's had such a positive impact on our. But it did feel so rubbish.
Because we would have just kept turning up to meetings with people with certain expectations and us with completely different expectations. So that was interesting. But they went out of business. They were doing really well. They went out of business recently. So. Probably because they didn't work with us. So that's for them. They should have learnt from it, shouldn't they? Really? They should have learnt from the failure.
Don't be bitter, Lloyd.
Bitter? Lager. Hey,
oh,
Foster's.
Wow.
G'day.
Moving on to switch this on to how rubbish you are, Lloyd. Do you remember that week when you were so shit? Like you must remember that week.
I think I even, in my notes of this podcast, I wrote down week of failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard not to.
But it was literally you being so rubbish the whole week. And
yeah, I remember. I think the first big thing was I got 500 business cards printed with a spelling mistake. So they arrived
on the email address.
Yeah, yeah. The most important part. So, how are people going to contact us if they are interested? I'll email them. Nope, they're never going to get that. So, how many opportunities did we lose there? But yeah, so I did that. And obviously, you've paid whatever for it, and it's more the annoyance of why have I done that? Like I like to think I'm an intelligent person. That's stupid.
Questionable.
And then it was like a couple of days after that, was walking up. This was when
you lob a cup of coffee over the wall.
We were still working in like the spare room of our parents' house when we were starting out.
I just heard a groan from down the stairs.
I was already in a bad mood, thinking I'm a failure, and then I just threw a cup of coffee up a cream carpet of the staircase. I was like, great, I'm really busy. I've already failed at loads of things this week, and now I'm going to spend 2 hours trying to clean a carpet.
And there was definitely more stuff. I think you failed to communicate with clients over some projects or something, and they were just waiting for stuff.
We got a couple of emails from people.
People like, why haven't you told us what's going on? I'm like, Lloyd, what are you doing? And we literally had a few conversations like, Lloyd, just stop being so rubbish.
Yeah.
Why are you?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know what went on that week? Or
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I think because we were talking about, what did you learn from these failures, and we improved. I think it's times like those when it's tough. It's really tough to think, what can I learn from this? At that point, you're just like, come on.
That's the worst when our dad, who's like, he advises us in business and stuff, doesn't he? Whenever we have a big sort of fuck up and we all feel rubbish, his first thing is so what did you guys learn from this? And we literally just want to punch him in the face because it's just such a patronising thing.
At the point, you're just thinking,
piss off.
Yeah, stop talking to me. I can tell you what I learned from this in 6 months' time when I feel more like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was tough. But I think in that case that's where having good people around you is a positive thing. Because if you feel like you've failed a few times in a row in anything in life, that's when you start to get to a point of like, should I give up with this? Yeah. And obviously, in reality, if you think you made a spelling mistake, you spilt a coffee, and you made a couple of mistakes,
but it's how rubbish you feel.
But so thankfully having a supportive brother and business partner. Yeah. And like you said, Dad is our kind of business mentor and lovely family and wife at home, or probably not wife at that point. No. Girlfriend. I got through that week of failure, but that was
There's certainly been more failures though. What other things have we done?
In business, I can think of a big failure.
Go on then.
So there's a certain client that we were doing work for, and they were a bit late with payment, and probably 3 months late. So we were owed quite a bit of money. And then one day they turned around and just said, "No, we're not going to pay that. We don't feel happy with what's gone on. We're not going to pay that." And so although at the time, at first, it's a bit like, what are they doing? But in reality, looking back, that was a failure of communication. It was a failure of managing our finances in the business and stuff.
Yeah.
And thankfully, in the end,
we
did what we needed to do. We know that we delivered them what
so we went and met with the evidence, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we went through it, and then they went, "Oh, you did do what you said you were going to do. We just hadn't."
After probably 3 hours of conversation, it was a revelation in their mind. Oh, you've done everything you were supposed to do, but we haven't done the stuff we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
But that was, in my mind, because think how much
that
time...
was the word. Do you know, that was, I felt, I've forgotten about that until now, but I felt so rubbish. There's nothing worse than thinking a client isn't happy.
Yeah.
And at that point, they said they weren't happy. And I was like, oh, we've got to do something to sort this out. And then we looked back at everything and saw that we'd actually delivered what we said.
I'm happy to say what we're used to is clients being happy with what we're doing. That's the norm. So I think for anyone in business, especially when obviously starting out in business and if you're growing a business, you're putting so much effort in, it just feels crushing if someone turns around even if they realise afterwards, oh no, actually you've done exactly what you said you're going to do. At the time, to say we're not happy with what you've done and we're not paying you, it feels...
But those failures along the way... because I guess like if you didn't not meet client expectations sometimes or clients weren't happy sometimes, those learning points wouldn't help you improve. Surely you need to have a slight mismatch in expectations sometimes to then think, oh, maybe we should have communicated this then and done this, that, and then the next time you're like, right, you know?
Yeah.
And another thing, that just made me think of another thing with failures or processes we didn't do very well is our whole payment terms. I think this would be quite interesting. You know, we started what we used to do with our payment terms was I think we had 30 days payment terms, and you basically deliver work even if it's the first of the month, and then you send an invoice. We used to send an invoice at the end of the month.
Yeah, on the 30th
and then so then like
month,
basically up to sometimes 60 days you wouldn't be getting paid. When really, or more than that, was it?
60 days after we delivered the work was when we were due to be paid.
Yeah.
And then
people don't pay
some
on time.
clients were 30 days late, so it was 90. And for a small business, and obviously those kind of failures along the way, 100% have helped our business. Now we've got...
Because now what do we do, Lloyd? You're the man that
now
heads this up.
We had a lot of thought about this, and we actually now, I think fairly unusually, we now have 15-day payment terms, and thought we'd get a bit of a backlash of 15 days. That's not... And no, everyone just does that.
Some people actually want to just have an invoice sent to them when it's done so they can get it.
So that means when we do work, we're getting paid much quicker.
And we send the invoice straight after we've delivered what the client is expecting.
Yeah,
the work.
As soon as they're happy with it being completed, we send it rather than going, oh, it's completed on the 4th. We're going to send all our invoices out.
That's made a huge
30th.
Difference for cash flow, hasn't it, for us?
And just actually having a process of chasing payment. So we're all failures sometimes, and some people fail to pay on time. But we all need a little reminder. So just simple things like, on the day that it's due, if we haven't received the money yet, sending a message saying, oh, just to remind you, we're due payment today. And that email might mean that you get paid 3 days late rather than 30 days late.
And also the tip you said to me about saying, because, cheers, have another sip.
Cheers,
of
good day.
Cheers. Saying, sending an email to say, because most of our clients do pay on time, to let people know, by the way, you're in that small percentage, that 5 or 10% that don't ever pay on time. Could you please try and get into that 95% that pay on time, because you're the one sort of letting the side down. That sort of has helped in a few situations.
It's all these little techniques that we have learnt from failing to get paid.
I don't even think we used to really have a following up process.
Do you know what? Also, because of our business finances,
fingers crossed you get paid.
we were looking at the profit of the business. I was looking at weekly and monthly and quarterly, and it was all, I was going to say it's always looking good. Over the last few years, it's always been looking good. So like, great, we're making a good profit. This will help us grow. This will help us do what we want to do, reinvest into the business. But it was when we realised that our profit was looking great. We've got all this, but
We had no money.
There's no money in the bank. And it's kind of like, what's going wrong here? There's a missing link.
Oh,
Because we never chase anyone for payments. So everyone's always so late to pay us.
yeah. We thought, cool, we're doing all right.
Making all this profit. Right, where should we invest it? Oh, we're in our overdraft. Right. Okay, that's going to be hard to invest.
Oh,
and
man.
it's then when you realise, oh, we're owed like £40,000.
Yeah.
Right. So when we wanted to reinvest that,
But we're not
£40,000
chasing
into the
anyone
business,
for it.
It's just in all our clients' bank accounts, sitting there waiting to come to us at some point.
But
So, without failing and kind of like obviously failing day to day, as in realising we had a problem with cash flow because we weren't getting payments, and the big failure of suddenly we've let a client just not pay for 3 months, and then they were like,
But-
by the way, we're not going to pay.
But
That really.
I also think in a year we're going to look at what we're doing now and think, what on earth are we doing with this process? Because there's obviously so much better ways you can run a business than we're running it.
We'll be looking back thinking, why did we start that podcast? That put off everyone working with us. That was a big fail.
Yeah, imagine that. There's a correlation now. Just no one wants to work with us.
I can see that social media. I can see that LinkedIn post in a year's time. 12 months ago, we thought we were doing a great podcast and attracting people to our business.
We actually just repelled everyone.
Then 6 months later, we had no money and we lost everything. Now we realise we've learned from that failure.
I'd also, something else I wanted to talk about in terms of failures is looking back, because I don't think we've ever spoken about this, is the failed business attempts that we've had, or before we've tried to. There's been things that I remember you doing way back when. Yeah. Remember when you were selling those? You were selling "I Love MJ" t-shirts or something. Yeah. That was one thing you.
Well, to be honest, another cringy story that I've got to say.
Please go ahead.
Cheers for bringing it up, Dan. We're quite good at making each other look shit on this podcast.
Yeah.
So. When Michael Jackson passed away in 2009, I believe, I was a big Michael Jackson fan.
Lloyd made money off it. You would never do that now. You would literally frown upon anyone.
My 19-year-old self saw the news. I remember it being an evening in the UK time. Saw the news online.
I thought, I make some money off this.
Immediately designed, like the I Love New York, I Love NY t-shirts. Immediately designed I Love MJ t-shirts with the dates of his birth and death, and put them on eBay, and made quite a bit of money for a 19-year-old person in his pants.
And how do you feel about that?
So, to be honest, the biggest failure was I jumped on. Someone died, and I was like, can make a profit here. Looking back, that was a weird thing. But don't get me wrong, some people I guess would look at it and think his fans.
You sold
them a t-shirt that they were proud to wear and stuff.
Yeah. Keep thinking that to make yourself feel better, mate.
But I suppose the failure aspect of it really is having a business model of wait for a celebrity to die, design a t-shirt and try and sell.
Yeah.
So after we've done things like that, we had
car rental business.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say that was us. We were supporting that.
Okay.
That was more Dad's thing. But we obviously put a lot of time and effort into it, and then I think it got to a point where we didn't ever really want to market it. So we did all this stuff, and then it was like, I can't really be bothered to market it. So if customers find us, I can.
What a great business strategy, Lloyd. If they find
Why didn't that work? What's going on? It's funny that we're a marketing agency, and with that we're like, right, it's there now, so let's just see what happens, shall we?
Wait for the customers to roll
in the office. It's weird the phone hasn't rang. Also, probably the most recent one though is the board game. I'm still a bit excited about that. So I think we've always, being in marketing, you're marketing other people's products and services mainly, obviously as our job, and I think we were quite excited by the fact we're
we've ever told anyone
we do.
This.
We get good results. So we're like, wouldn't it be great to market
our own product
or and something that we're excited about, and we know we can sell stuff and market stuff because it's what we do. Yeah. And we can see the results we get for other people.
So we just need to design a good product. And then
we had I don't know how we got to a board game. Actually, no. First, we had a failure to get us to board game.
Oh, go on.
First, it was basically like Philips Hue light bulbs.
Oh my God, I completely forgot about that.
We had the idea.
We had a contact in China.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We had that guy sent to China. And he did all these investigations in factories.
I forgot about that.
Let's find a company a factory in China that can basically make these LED bulbs that change colour.
Basically knock off Philip Hue.
Have an app and stuff. And this guy's finding factories in
we
China.
had
We're looking
meetings
at
and
what the
stuff.
app, and with the app developer, the app could look like this, all this kind of stuff. And then it got to the point we actually had, it was like a group of us that were working on this. So 5 or 6 of us that were going to kind of all invest into it to make it work. And then it got to the point where we're like, so price point, what could we, looking at it, we're like, so we could sell it for more than the best product on the market. And
it's about
and then we were looking at what the app
good.
could be like and stuff. It's like, much less functionality, much worse product. I mean, all 6 of us could work on trying to make this a success, but
that's good that we didn't continue.
I'm so glad that we realised we
a shitter product that's more expensive.
We predicted a failure, which helped us get into the next thing. So that's where we started.
Oh yeah, then
it was like, right, we're still passionate about this marketing our product. So for some reason we got into board games.
Yeah.
I think
we bought a load of board games.
Oh yeah,
do you remember?
That was fun. Actually,
that was fun.
The research was really fun.
Market research is good.
Yeah, because I think it was the time when there were a few games that seemed to be, because it used to be the big dogs that you just go to like Woolworths or Tesco's and you buy that's where you buy these board games from these big brands. And then I think with the way the internet works, there seemed to be on social media.
Oh, do you know what it was? I think it was that. Do you remember that mouth game where you have to say stuff and it went viral? And there was the cream. You put cream on this thing and wind it, and it slaps you in the face. And we were seeing these videos getting like hundreds of millions of views on Facebook, and we were like, we could literally create a board game, and we know how to market like they are.
So we've been talking about this for a while now, getting on to why it's failed, because we spent loads of time on it, and then one day we just forgot about it. That's
the end.
I don't know. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I guess that's a failure of focus. It's like we
getting
invested this time, all excited. Then the excitement kind of died down. When we stopped playing board games, that's to do some real work.
I just want to put this out there as well, just so we've got this on record. We are going to develop a wicked product and market it and sell shitloads of them at some point in our lives.
Yeah, I genuinely think we will. Will it be a light bulb? Will it be a board game?
I hope not.
I think the board games. I think we're creative enough to create. Create a good board game and market it well. Yeah.
There was something else. So sorry, I just want to move on to something different, Lloyd. That's just a big thing, a big mistake that we used to make as a business. That if you're a business that is a service-based business and you send out proposals or like action plans where someone says, hey, I want you to help me with this thing, you then put a proposal together saying, this is what we can do, this is how much it is, and you send it to them, and then they say yes or no, we want to work with you, or we don't want to work with you. So what we used to do, our process of
what we used to do when they said they don't want to work with you,
what we used to do is we realized that a lot of people just weren't wanting to work with us, but somewhere, but like our conversion rate was not very good. And what we did used to do was, someone would say they're interested, we'd go and meet them, we'd find out what they wanted to achieve, we'd go away, we'd write we'd spend, I remember spending like days writing these proposals that are about 30 pages long. Yeah. And then I'd send them an email saying, there you go. And then just wait for them to get back to
They used to include a lot of waffle about, this will be really good for your business because all this good stuff, and this will be really good.
Yeah.
Like, are you just trying to extend that to make it look
And then one day, listen to Jason Swank's podcast. I think it's called Agency Masterclass or something. Really great podcast if you've got an agency or a marketing company.
Probably the second best one you can listen to.
Yeah, probably the second best podcast you can listen to. And then he gave a bit of advice. Someone he interviewed said, what you need to do is in that first meeting, when you're talking through their objectives and you're saying, hey, I'm going to go away and write a proposal or a pitch or action plan, you then need to arrange a date to meet again in that meeting to go through that with them. So you've got that second, so you know that there's no way they're getting out of it, and you can actually sit down with them and go through it line by line. And then if they've got objections, if they're thinking, that doesn't quite look right, you can overcome them whilst you're there with them, rather than them reading something and thinking, it doesn't look quite right, I've got a question, sod it, gets lost in there. So that's one huge, that's made such a big impact for us, hasn't it?
And that was, so we were failing actually winning business. We were like doing all this work.
Yeah, a marketing company failed winning business.
Takes a lot of time to do, and then the amount we were converting just wasn't good enough, was it? Yeah. But that revelation, and I think I've realised it when we're buying other people's services now. I've noticed some people respond to you and you never hear from them again. And it's very easy to forget
about them. Mm-hmm.
We had this recently with someone was looking to do some video editing while we were away in USA, and they responded really interesting stuff, but then they never got back to me, and I kind of looked at it a couple of days ago and thought maybe if they did, we would have considered using them in the future. But just kind of, there's lots going on in your life, and you that kind of goes down the line of priorities.
The importance of processes. Yeah. You like when we started, we had no processes. Our processes, we come to work and just think of what to do to run a good business.
Try and be busy to do good business stuff.
Yeah. Go to loads of networking, like we spoke about in episode 1 of the Business Anchors podcast. But no, and then once over time you start to learn, that's not really working. That's not working. Yeah. Learn these different processes and ways to manage them, and then you're way more efficient. And just like a whole sales funnel process using HubSpot, it's online sales and CRM system, that's helped us.
I think I think everyone in the business world has got to be much more accepting of failure of others and themselves.
Like we're failing loads now with our processes and things. Yeah. We could be improving tenfold.
If you're not failing, you're never going to improve, and that would be a depressing way to think, wouldn't it? Like, we're at the peak. This is it. We are the best we can ever be. Because I think also, like, judging, I think it's tough judging other people. Sometimes we all, we've spoken about business networking and stuff in the past, and events, you meet other businesses, and day to day in business, you meet other businesses. And I think sometimes you can be quite judgmental, thinking like, if someone says about their business, you can walk away and kind of be like, well, that's not going to work. Yeah. Almost like that sounds like a failure. Yeah. That won't. And I think when I was thinking about this podcast, it's like Google, Apple, and Amazon at one point were all working out of a garage. The sort of guy you might meet at a networking meeting.
Yeah, I'm building this online thing where people communicate. Yeah, all right, mate, get back in your cave.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you would be judging them as a failure. This Amazon guy comes up to you. Yeah, I'm selling books on this new thing called the internet. Oh, where's your office? Just in my garage. Yeah. You'd be like, all right, I've just got to get a coffee, mate. All right, cheers. And now he's the richest guy in the world. I think we all have got to change the way we kind of judge people, and sometimes you jump to conclusions and think things will be failures. And
devil's advocate, saying that, there is some of my friends in the past have sort of said to me, I've got this app idea, I've got the best idea ever, an app which is like Uber but it's for plants, and they're like well excited about it, and no, that's a made up.
Uber for plants.
No, but you know what I mean. Everyone's
so many plants on the street out there trying to get taxis.
Everyone's got an Uber.
You see the oak trees lined up along the side of the road. They've been waiting there for years. Bush is overgrown because they've been there waiting for their Ubers.
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't.
Like an Airbnb, where a company that doesn't own any of the things it rents out or sells, but it creates a network or a platform for people to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you from our experience over the last 5 years of failing all of these different businesses, and I feel like I've got a fairly good understanding of the work that needs to go in, even to the best idea in the world, to even make it feasible.
Yeah.
Because even if you had like the best idea that no one's ever thought of, right? The best idea for this app or this thing, and you put it out there in the world, someone like Google, with the power of Google, could just see that, create the same thing, but with a much bigger budget and wider network of people to market to. So you've really got to have something majorly good and that you can do better than anyone else. If you want something to be a global success, you've got to be thinking that you can be the best in the world at it, which would be an amazing feat. So when people do think of these app ideas, it's like, yes, are you going to be the best person in the world at that? I'd be the best person to start an Uber for plants.
Yeah, I think you'd be the only person. I think you would be the best, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've spoken about failure and how it can be positive and learning from stuff. But I think that taking us on to the next kind of stage of the conversation, surely at some points you fail and it's a sign to actually say, okay, maybe this isn't right for you. Maybe you should try something different. Like if someone goes to medical school and fails all their exams, you don't go, oh, well, you'll learn from this. Go on, there's a guy that needs heart surgery down there. Off you pop. Hopefully you've learned from that failure. Like there's a reason that sometimes failure is...
And I think something that our society's done now is glamorized failure. Like for example, like the Oprah Winfrey story of she didn't get into her first drama school,
Yeah.
and now Michael Jordan didn't get into his first.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg
And
got
everything
turned
we've
down.
been talking about so far, where we're like, we failed at this.
And
then
we've been glamorizing it up until
we
now.
got up again and we got to
Yeah.
a better place, because that's what everyone talks about, isn't it?
We've been glamorized. Yeah, exactly. We've been glamorized up until now. But you're right. There's a point where you can't just have the mentality, you get knocked out, you keep getting back up, sort of thing.
But how do you make that judgment?
Well, there's something that James Sinclair, hi James if you're listening, who's really great businessman.
Business broadcast
British
podcast,
broadcast
if you wanna
podcast. Go and
another
listen to
podcast.
it. He's a great guy. But I remember I've learned so much from him. I remember watching one of his podcasts, and we met him and did a podcast with him on his podcast. But he said, one of the things he said, I hope I'm quoting you right here, James, was something around, if someone's trying to give you advice, don't listen to the advice someone's giving you unless they're achieving what you want to achieve. So if your friend or your family are like, oh, that's not going to work. Oh, you should do this, you do that. But they've never grown a £10 million business.
It could be someone that you love and really respect in lots of other ways. But if they're not educated or have done...
I guess the way I would answer this is, if someone or more than one person, when you're speaking to them about what you're doing, their advice is, hey, you've failed that many times, or looking at what you're doing, I would really not carry on. Like I remember hearing on Steve Bartlett's podcast, The Diary CEO. Again, great podcast, you should listen to him. He talked through a story of, so it's funny because he always gives advice to everyone and says, only have a plan A, because you don't, if you fail, you keep going. And then this guy who met him and had this idea to create a backpack with like a shiny strip on the back, which obviously is a bit of a rubbish idea. But this guy was side him. He's like, I'm going to build the biggest backpack company in the world. And he was rephrasing all of these motivational lines that Steve Bartlett has said to his, and then Steve's there like, I know you're kind of doing what I've said, but that's really not going to work, mate. And he knew he didn't have the business skills, the communication skills just from meeting him. But the guy's there like, no, Steve, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to do what you say.
Yeah.
It's like,
so I think what it comes down to, the lack of self-awareness is the biggest issue. That's the huge issue. So
yeah, that's true.
If you fail and you're aware, I failed because, I made these mistakes. But actually, this is what I can do to rectify that, and I know I've got the skills, or I can learn to do that. Whereas if you're not aware of what's the reason and why you're failing, and if you just think I've got to get up and do it again because I can do this, I think that's where it's tough. And I think it's hard. Some people have more self-awareness than others, and I don't know how you can get to a better level of that.
I think another element to that is if you're learning the right things from that failure as well. If you're failing and then not taking any of you failed and learned and then done something better the next time, that's a key sign that you're really not...
If you're just doing the same thing, I've got to get up again. Oh, I'm not going to fail. I only have a plan A. I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
And not changing anything. Like there's a graphic designer that I've seen online a lot, and he has been promoting this graphic design business for years. Never met the guy, but I see his posts all the time, and obviously from his posts online I can see terrible graphic designer.
Is that that's subjective though? Is that just your...
Definitely not subjective. No. 100%.
How sure are you?
I could show 100 people and 100 people would say that guy's not a designer.
Manan could have done better.
So, and
I feel bad for that kind of person though.
Yeah, but you can feel bad for them. But it'll be much worse, surely, to be looking at their stuff going, oh, great job, mate, keep it going. Yeah. But I think in reality, probably the people in that person's life, or they're just not listening to the people, are just saying, yeah, keep going. Or he's saying to himself, I've got to keep going. But in reality, outsiders can clearly see this isn't for you, because this isn't your skill set. This isn't what you're going to be successful in. Yeah,
you kind of hope that the thing I mentioned about learning from your failures, you'd kind of hope that person would have done a job for a client, and because they're not that great, the client would have said, oh, that's definitely not what I was expecting. And then they'd think, oh, I've really mismatched the expectations. I'll learn from that. Like I wanted to look at studies before this podcast to see if there was actually a relationship between failing and people who fail actually are more successful. There's loads of studies on the internet that relate failure early on in life to actually being successful in the end of life. But there was this really interesting study from Northwestern University, and they found that the way that you learn from your mistakes actually makes a bigger impact on how successful you are. Then it's not so much just failing, because they did a study comparing different people that failed, and some of them did do well, some of them didn't. But it was the lessons learnt throughout those failures to see how much of a that one step further they got each time from learning.
So I guess when you're failing, it's not you could fail and put your head in the sand and think, I've failed, right, I'm just going to keep trying.
Yeah.
Or you fail, you reflect,
analyze it.
You reflect on why did I fail, what can I do, and learn. I suppose that's what we were talking about in the first half of this podcast.
Yeah.
In the how it's a positive thing, where we've made, we spoke about all the stuff that we've made mistakes in, and then we've spoken about the changes we've made to what we do now.
Yeah.
If we didn't make those changes, we'd still be failing those
I think
things.
it's an emotional thing as well, because the things that you remember...
I'm feeling pretty emotional right now.
No, it's when your emotions are triggered, because the things that you remember, when you make a mistake, like we mentioned before, and you feel so rubbish.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I worked at Enterprise, and one of my first days, I was driving a van, and I swung it round and carved the whole side of the van open, and my manager... he didn't shout at me, but he was seething, and I literally felt like I wanted to cry inside.
I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed.
Not you, Lloyd. And then from that, every time I drove a van, I literally was so careful, because you need that emotional trigger to then remember that kind of trauma of you thinking, oh man, I don't want to turn up to this pitch without a pitch like we did. Or
And it's that, I think that emotional thing is on both sides. So we're talking about failure, and so when you make mistakes and it feels like that, you learn not to do that again. It's the same thing the other side. If you put loads of effort into something, work really hard, and then you get the reward from it, that's like the other end of the scale. Emotionally, you feel like that is amazing. Like you speaking on stage when you've been building up the size of the audiences you've spoken to and that kind of thing, and being paid more to speak. I think it's always, you take the step up, and then when you do it, you think that was worth the effort. I need to do more of what I'm doing.
Like one lesson I've learnt from speaking on stage is, from all the different talks I've done, some of them I've prepared more for, some of them I haven't. And I've had a couple where I haven't prepared enough, and I've sort of fluffed it up a bit and felt absolutely rubbish because I didn't think I delivered. And other ones where I've really prepared X amount, and I now know that I need to prepare for that much. And it's a lot of preparation to feel and to deliver what I want to deliver. So I know that emotional feeling of my worst thing ever would to be being on stage and people thinking, oh, he's rubbish. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He hasn't practiced enough.
Or hundreds or thousands of people looking at you thinking, he's all right. It's pretty rubbish.
That is my really makes me feel horrible and to my core if I feel that.
And I can tell. So when you go off gallivanting around the world speaking about marketing, and I'm just in the office doing all the hard work
in your pants.
When you well, not when the rest of the team are working.
I hope not.
When you call me, I can completely tell. So the majority of the time, you call me and you sound like on top of the world and excited, because I think it's that feeling of I've put all this effort into this thing. Like the one in
Romania.
Yeah, I've come off stage and you can tell on the phone you are buzzing. You're like at that. That euphoria of this has worked, and that's the side of things. Your brain going, do this more. This feels great.
But I've also called you, or you've been there and you've said, how'd that go? And I've been like, I'm really not happy.
And you can tell I'd say it is hours afterwards.
I feel
you're
rubbish.
Reflecting, and it's that process we're talking about with your emotions of thinking, I never want to feel like this again. So what am I going to do next time? And I've seen with your preparation, moving forward with your preparation, you do so much preparation now to make sure when you're speaking,
do so much preparation so that it looks like I haven't prepared as well, because what you don't want to do is be reading, and that's what makes me feel better, when you can just every slide and you're just talking and you're buzzing to do it.
I think that's hard, and why people fail sometimes as well, because for example, I know we're on this random example of you speaking at events, but when people see people make it look easy, I think they need to put less effort in. They go up, and obviously they're rubbish because they don't put effort in. They fail, and then it's kind of like, why did I fail? They just go up and make it look so easy, but it's the work.
They've done it 1,000
behind,
times.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
So failing sometimes is a good thing. Sometimes is bad, and you should stop being a graphic designer. In summary,
great lessons learnt from the podcast. There was something else we were going to do. What were we going to do? We were going to...
Well, first, I want to say, Lightbulb Guru, big fan of the show, Lightbulb Guru. He's been mentioned in 2 episodes now. He won the £100 from the first episode, and it was an Amazon
Richard.
gift card voucher. We found out it was Richard. Hi, Richard. absolute light bulb guru. He's been on Come Dine with me as well, so a bit of a celeb. And he very kindly said that he'd like us to donate the £100 to the Thanet Winter Shelter, the charity that I work with.
Do you own the charity, Lloyd?
Yeah. Oh, did I get that another episode? Yeah, I'm such a nice guy.
Just have a look on his Facebook profile if you want to see pictures of him.
Yeah, very funny. So yeah, just want to say massive thank you, Richard. That's going to be hugely appreciated. Or should I call you Light Bulb Guru? And we'll put a link somewhere if anyone else wants to donate anything. We're helping lots of homeless people, and it's a good cause. So yeah, do that. That'd be lovely.
Thanks,
thanks,
Richard.
Light
That
Bulb
is really
Guru.
kind of you.
Yeah, that's lovely. So to finish this off, I'm excited by this.
I'm excited by
I thought so. Previously, we've done Business Anchor of the Week, where me or Dan have kind of said to each other, "This is why you are an anchor," and had a bit of a rant about things we've done. We thought we'd have like a speed round of failure. So me and Dan are going to take it in turns to
fire each other's
failures at each other. This is going to be brutal.
This is going to be really positive.
And I guess whoever runs out of failures to fire at the other one next
is a failure.
Oh god, this is great. So are they a failure or are they not a failure because they've got less failures themselves? So much failure in this room.
So are we just going to go back and forth?
Yeah. So who wants to start?
I'll start. Ready? Should there be some kind of timer on this, or we're just going to go?
Just imagine there's like the countdown timer.
Yeah.
Just listeners, just imagine that. We might edit it on. We might fail to remember to edit that sound on. Who knows?
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
I'm just referring to my list here. This is the long list. So, ready? That time you accidentally ate a real meat Whopper instead of their new vegan one.
You went to a pitch without a pitch.
The time you paid for your family trip to Howlett's on the company card and said you did it by accident.
You never plan enough time for anything you ever need to do.
The 1 out of 5 days a week you are late for work and set a bad example for the rest of the team. Oh, truth hurts. You forget stuff 30 seconds after you've been reminded. The time we actually reviewed the holiday we take and realised when we added it up that you took an extra week out of the whole year and then said you'd make that time back, but you never did.
You can't say these failures without sounding like you're reading them from a piece of paper. Failure.
The time you ordered 500 business cards with the wrong email address on.
You failed to buy me any decent birthday presents when we were children. For example, a bike pump.
And the teddy bear of a snowman. The time you ordered a new phone contract instead of upgrading, so the business has had to pay for 2 phone contracts instead of 1 for you for no reason.
You failed to give me back my passport when you stole it when we were teenagers.
The time you were conceived, that was a mistake.
That was more mum and dad's failure. But you drove for hours to a client that had a £50 budget.
That's true. School as a whole for you.
Oh yeah, I did fail a lot there. You failed to clean that food off your shirt that you've had there for this whole podcast. You failed to realise that was a joke and you looked at your t-shirt.
The time you did a whole degree to become a teacher but failed to become one because you decided you didn't want to be a teacher at the end of the course.
You failed to finish your Fosters.
You failed to not wear a rubbish jumper.
And I think we'll end it there, knowing that...
Can I say my last one, actually?
Okay, does that mean I'm the biggest failure then?
Yeah. My last one was a positive. Other than that, you're a winner in my eyes, Lloyd.
Oh, what a lovely way to finish this podcast. And if you want more good feelings, like you've had in this episode, laughs, lols...
Radio voice, Lloyd, come on. This is
sorry. If you want more good feelings like we had on today's podcast, we're feeling really positive this day. I do struggle to actually talk when I do the radio DJ voice. I think it's something about the shape of my mouth when I do it. But if you want more good feelings, then please do give us a review, rating on Apple. Please follow us, subscribe on Spotify. Tell your friends how they can enjoy this podcast. And we'll be back for more when we come back from San Diego. And I'm sure we'll have some great stories about that. If you've ever been on a work trip and got some great stories, just call us on 01843 22... Oh, sorry. Nearly gave away my friend's parents' house phone number then. Sorry, Barbara and Jeff. That was a close one. Anyway, I think that's a good point to end this on. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your support. To failure. And
cheers,
Fosters
Australia.
At 9 a.m.
Cheers.
Good day. How are you going?
We're just a couple of business anchors. Welcome to the Business Anchors podcast. This jingle is slightly too long. This jingle is slightly too long.